Again, Matthew chapter 26, verse 57. Then those who had seized Jesus led him to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders had gathered. And Peter was following him at a distance, as far as the courtyard of the high priest. And going inside, he sat with the guards to see the end. Now the chief priests and the whole council were seeking false testimony against Jesus, that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. At last, two came forward and said, This man said, excuse me, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to rebuild it in 3 days. And the high priest stood up and said, Have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you? But Jesus remained silent. And the high priest said to him, I adjure you by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. And Jesus said to him, You have said so. But I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest tore his robes and said, He has uttered blasphemy. What further witnesses do we need? You have now heard his blasphemy. What is your judgment? They answered, He deserves death. Then they spit in his face, struck him, and some slapped him, saying, Prophesy to us, Christ, who is it that struck you? It's a good spot to stop. All right. So we just left the arrest. That was in the previous section. In 56, as a reminder, but all of this that has taken place, that was the arrest and all the other things ahead, have taken place that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. And then all the disciples left him and fled. And I guess I should put a footnote, except for Peter. Or he fled and then kind of not fled that as far, is my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas fled into the woods and turned around and
Right,
looked.
exactly.
You know.
He found the biggest tree he could hide behind.
Exactly.
You know, that kind of thing. One of those Lebanon trees. Okay. So they grabbed him and led him to Caiaphas, which is the high priest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's where the scribes and elders gathered. I think I read in commentary somewhere that this was actually Caiaphas' home. It wasn't the official meeting hall or some, like the courthouse kind of thing. That it was.
I read somewhere, you're right, but that's also where they took care of a lot of business.
Did they? Okay.
So it wasn't like they woke him
It was
up and it was in his
abnormal or
bedroom, so
something.
to speak.
Well, I find it interesting only because, since I'm involved in a lot of the politics stuff, one of the things that is really picky, but you have to follow the rules, is announcing, meeting dates and locations. For example, we can't do our work, our official business, anywhere but in the city of Covington, because it is the parish seat. And the rules say you have to do business in the parish seat.
So you can't.
I can't go to Slidell.
Even a conference hall over there. Or
That's
something.
right. I have to. The official business has to be done in the parish seat, and it's just the way the rules work.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that what I'm seeing this is that you have to have some official place to do the official work.
And you're right, and I saw a special where they actually undug some of the homes of these high priests, like Caiaphas.
Yeah.
These homes were not like you think; they were magnificent.
Well, relatively speaking,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, no, they were. No, as far as I mean,
Even today's standard?
Even today's standard. Well, you got to put it back in that time, but it was humongous.
Yeah.
It was what you would dream. You would say, no way. Oh yes.
Hmm.
So it's not like it's a little room. Oh no, it was.
Well,
This is a
because
monstrosity.
I toured, and it was, what's the one that was buried by the volcano?
Vesuvius.
Yeah, that's the mountain, but the town.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about.
Bad Luck City.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
But, we were touring somewhere over there in Rome and all
Pompeii.
these- Pompeii, thank you. And
Crosswords.
they, the houses were literally
Yeah.
what we would call a garage. That would be the whole house, most of it. But then you'd have the head guy,
Yeah.
the mayor, or whatever the term was, and he had his house in the back.
Yeah.
And a lot of it had courtyards because that's where the water was, that's where the, I don't know, the toilets and cooking and servants or whatever, but you had rooms around the perimeter, kind of like a Motel 6,
Right.
But then you had a front courtyard, and that's where people came in off the street.
Yeah.
This is for the head guy.
Yeah.
And it was, magnificent, and it was to impress and all that, but that courtyard is where he held court, no pun intended,
Mhm.
for a lot of business.
Which is why they call
When
it.
he didn't go down to the courthouse, as you know. And I thought that was really interesting because that's where, because people are always coming in there wanting something.
Right.
But it was a place, not in his bedroom, that he could leave the family behind and come and do court. And so that's what I'm picturing.
Okay.
It's like a double courtyard, like a figure eight.
Yeah.
The back was his private stuff, and the front was where the servants were and where he did his.
Yeah, and like I said, down, you see it, it's mind-boggling. But Howard, it's funny that you should mention that you have to, any official business has to be taken care of in Covington. They assembled that night, which broke the law.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't assemble in this place, which broke the law.
Yeah.
Also, when they brought in these people to testify against Christ, they could not. It takes 2 or 3 more to agree. They couldn't agree. That broke the law because they went ahead and ran through anyway. It's amazing how many laws that they broke that God instituted for them to abide by to murder our Messiah. The Messiah. It's unbelievable.
They vote to suspend the laws.
They did that. They broke one day. It's unbelievable when you look into how many laws they actually broke to crucify him. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Really.
to enforce the law, they broke a lot of laws.
They broke a lot of laws. It's like it makes you. And I didn't, growing up, I read this, didn't know that. It's how many laws they broke to convict him.
So we see that, so we have Caiaphas is here, scribes and the elders had gathered in this area. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. 58 seems to be a little side note about Peter. And Peter was following him at a distance, so, but yet, I don't know. It says as far as the courtyard of the high priest, so he went that far.
Yeah.
Obviously, didn't go into where they were meeting, because apparently they weren't meeting actually in the courtyard, but in the house
Yeah.
somehow.
But you bless you.
That's not.
You use the phrase servants. No. Mine says servants. What was the phrase you used?
Let's-
Say it with the servants.
Let's scroll back here.
Yeah,
Officers. Mine says officers.
High
Yeah,
priest,
officers.
where the scribes and elders had gathered, is the way mine's worded.
Okay, he said he went in and sat with the servants, so you said the
Oh,
officers.
and Peter was following him at a distance as far as the courtyard of the high priest, and going inside, he sat with the guards to see the
Yeah, you have officers,
guards.
which guards, okay, I can see that, and servants, which, okay. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Hmm.
When I read this, I assumed it was the food wait staff,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
as opposed to
I assume it was the guards that led them, took them from the guard room.
reading that, I would say
Yeah,
so.
yeah, or the, something, I don't know.
Huh, I don't know if that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Especially I think it was last week, you had mentioned that the guards
Yeah, and
were
there's certain-
assigned by
Yeah, the,
Rome.
and John was saying no, and I've not done any kind of back research on that, to why that
Mine says
commentator
servants
said
too.
that. Yeah.
Mine says servants too.
Yeah.
But again, but in the end, I guess this, I'm like you. I don't think it's really,
Yeah, I'm not sure if it makes a.
Well, the other thing you have to look at is if you look forward into the story where he was located at, he was with servants, right? Because
Yes,
it
he
talks
was.
about the servant
Woman.
girl, about the woman, and
Yeah.
things like that. So it was
Yeah.
probably, I would say that servant would be a better translation than an officer or
Right.
something
Or
like that.
a
Right?
particular role, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the question I have,
Uh-huh.
these to be the high priest, right? These guys rotated, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, every year, if I'm not mistaken.
So it
High
just,
priest?
I think it was
yes.
every year, wasn't it?
Oh, I didn't know that, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that
Under
correct?
the law, they do rotate. I want to say every year. Don't quote me on that, but they do rotate.
Yeah, I think it's similar to our Supreme Court.
Right.
We have a Chief Justice.
That you served that position for
Right.
a certain period of
Right.
time, and then you
Right,
rotate
and that's not
around.
voted by the people
No.
or anything like that. It's the court decides who's going to be the Chief Justice.
And then you just go back into the main justice.
Yeah, because I mean, there were thousands
Oh yeah.
of priests and that served either as a high priest, chief priest, or whatever.
Right.
And I guess through your influence is how sometimes you
Yes,
got to be.
That's right. You
Yeah.
work
You
the
moved up the
politics
ranks.
within that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, majority leader, minority leader.
Right.
You get all those kind of.
And all he did was perform. His main job once a year was to go in and pass over and perform the sacrifice.
That's what the high-
He was
that's-
the only one that could go into the holiest of holies.
Right.
So you're right, and it's rotated.
And-
But-
Yeah.
but the-
The UK, the prime minister's that way. The party members elect the prime minister, not
Okay.
the people of England.
Yeah.
So the people of England vote for their representatives, if you will,
Right.
and the parliament, and then from there,
It's kind of the way
it
they,
goes up.
Pelosi and Schumer, isn't
Yeah,
that the way they
they're
did it? Is
exactly, they're the majority leader.
But they're voted by the representatives,
Of
not by
that,
us.
right, that's
Yeah.
exactly right, yeah. So it's very similar in that respect to us. Okay. Different yet also similar. So we get to 59, talks about the chief priests and the whole council. They were doing things. I want to talk about the chief priests and whole council. There were apparently, according to some I read, there's 70 members of the council, of which, in order to have quorum to do business, you have to have 23 to do that. That's in order to do any kind of official yes or no kind of decisions. You need a quorum. So not all 70. So when it starts talking about the whole council, it's not necessarily the whole 70, but the whole quorum.
They had a quorum,
All the
made
councils
it.
saw folks.
Kind of
which
stuff.
makes sense,
Yeah.
when it was held.
Well, because you imagine,
What?
we don't want to believe that the entire Sanhedrin
Right.
was
Yeah.
all against Jesus.
And-
That'd be silly, right? Just like
That's
saying,
a great point,
yeah,
because in a roundabout way, if you're trying to shove something through, when do you do it, and who do you get to come?
Just let your people.
just
live.
your peeps.
Exactly,
Yeah.
they had just enough for the quorum so they could conduct business.
Yep, yep.
Good. Yes, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the way they do it here now.
It is.
Yes, it is.
How similar and how unique.
Nothing's changed in 2000
No.
years.
Ecclesiastes comes to full gear here. Nothing new under the law or under the sun.
That's why it was so much of a big thing when they started holding night court in certain cities because of so much crime and the need to do around the clock.
Right,
It kind of goes against what we believe in as the way our government was
Right.
set up.
right.
It's supposed to be in the brighter days so they can
So
expose
no one's
all.
sneaking anything,
Right.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Not the basement?
Okay, so what were they doing? They were seeking, now, I think that's probably what Matthew's kind of putting in his bias here. We're seeking, I'm not saying it's not true, seeking false testimony against Jesus. I mean, I'm sure that from their point of view, they were seeking testimony, right?
Or was it?
Or was it
Or did they,
purposely
once
not?
again,
Well-
like, my theory is they knew who he was.
Yeah.
So they were trying to find
Yeah.
somebody.
That's what I took it to, like
Yeah.
Ken Pickett.
Yeah, they're
Testimony.
witness. Yeah, we don't want you as a witness, we'll
False
take you, 'cause
testimony.
Yeah.
it sounds better, yeah.
Fake news is the first.
Well, I know, I was reading this, thinking about those little disclaimers you get, fake news or misleading news, they qualify.
Misinformation, yeah.
Misinformation, that kind of
It's a
thing.
new buzzword.
And as a matter of fact, when it comes to the accusation in 61, where it says, this man said, I'm able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days, it's taken out of
Total out
quote.
of context.
I think John chapter 2:19. I think that's right. Do you have that, Steve?
Yeah, I can do it, John.
2:19.
Here it is, it says, and Jesus answered them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up.
Right. Who destroyed? He said, you destroy the
destroyed
temple,
it.
right? Not I destroy the temple. So just enough to twist the words, just like today, we use it to manipulate the words.
But even in John, they didn't understand what he was talking about.
Right. Yeah.
We know because of the hindsight.
Right. Right.
So you could call that blasphemy, regardless of who. Because he's claiming that he can rebuild this massive temple that took 150 years to build or
Right.
whatever.
Right. Right.
In,
Well, however long it was. Yeah.
yeah, so.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it makes me, I guess, get to the question, is the blasphemy, or is this thing, his ability to rebuild? Is that what they're saying?
No, I think it's destroy.
You think?
I think it has to do with destroying the temple, right?
Yeah.
Which,
I personally think so too,
which
yeah.
is what Steve was talking about. He wasn't talking about the temple anyway. He was talking about himself,
That's right, the body,
right? He was
Right.
talking about destroy this temple,
right.
being himself, and,
Right.
But
Yeah.
again, we always
They-
talk about they didn't get it. But
They
you know,
didn't get it, right?
But Howard, I love what you said and everybody. Destroy this temple in 3 days, I will raise it up. He didn't make reference, I'm going to destroy. He didn't
Right.
say, so again, it's like, and it's almost like today, if I disagree with you on water baptism, blasphemy.
Right.
I've heard people, fundamentalists, Baptists, Oh my God, you would think I just denied the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What do we now? Blasphemy is everything under the sun because I
Don't agree.
disagree
Right.
on one little minute tradition, let's say.
Right.
And I do believe in water baptism, just to put that out there. But, not for salvation.
It's in camera, I got it, it's already
Yeah,
recorded.
right.
But I mean, it's amazing what things are blasphemy nowadays, and it's unbelievable within the church. How rigid we have become on things that are basically tradition.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It
how,
could be biblical, but traditional.
we talked about this
Yeah.
last night in
Last
Romans, right? You know, how Paul, right in the book of Romans, the main reason for that is to bring together the two factions of the church, being the Jewish church and the Gentile church, right? And how
It says it.
trying to show how you're similar. You know, you need to be one. We're one in the body of Christ, where you know that those types of things will isolate us as believers.
Yeah.
You know, the traditions and the things like that will actually separate us. The enemy will use those things to separate us, rather than, you know, us coming together under the, you know, the umbrella of you know, being Christ followers, or, you know, so.
Yeah.
It's human nature.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's human nature.
So as we get into that word, we're going to have to talk about blasphemy. So what is blasphemy? And you alluded to, nowadays it seems to be that if you just talk against something, you know, that you believe in, it's blasphemy. But what was it in context here? It's like,
It would be testimony contrary to them, to Scripture, or to the Old Testament, or to the law,
Yes.
right?
Well, is it
That would be
contrary to
blasphemy.
it, or is it making, you're blasphemous if you claim to be God?
Yeah,
So not so much denying whether God can do something, but you're claiming to be personally God.
right.
So I don't think it's so much bad mouthing God, or whatever the right terminology is. I think it's more you claiming it.
And what about denying, adding to that, what about even denying the power of God? That's blasphemy. Or taking, like Satan taking credit for what God did, and he's taking credit. That's actually, I think Christ said himself, that's blasphemy. Don't do that. Oh, of the
So
Holy
it tells me
Spirit.
he set us up. He knows the definition.
Yeah, yeah. I think,
I looked it up.
I know, that's what I'm,
give it
I'm
to
waiting
us,
for the
Howard.
official one.
Give it to us.
Well, the interesting thing is it's more about profaning something.
Mhm.
It's a denigrating.
Oh, so it's not
Something.
about claiming it yourself.
Right. It's about saying that God can't because I can.
Right, yeah.
Is it
If you
because you
limit-
can, or is it or just the fact that you say
Or
God
God's
can?
not special because I can do it too.
Okay.
You're profaning God on that. You're
Lessening,
No, sorry.
lessening,
Lessening.
Power of.
Yeah, the lessening of the power of.
Right.
You're equalizing God to you, or worse, you
Right.
to God. Right.
Well, it's like when Satan took credit, and that's when Christ said, hey, you know, that's when blasphemy, that's the unforgivable sin, is denying the ability for God to save, and that's of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Where Satan took, and it's, I mean, and you're right, think about what really blasphemy is, and now everything, I mean, just listen to people talk, and that word comes up, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's not what they're not
Yeah.
going against the power of God.
Yeah. But, yeah. Nowadays, blasphemy is more like someone likes mint ice cream.
I know.
You know, that's blasphemy. You know, that kind of thing.
It's a shame you gotta say it, but
Yeah,
it's,
I know.
It's
I know.
but it is that ironic, what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I find interesting too is that they use this testimony about the temple. Right. I mean, he had other things that he said that they could have used. A lot
He
more.
said he was God.
Me and the Father are one.
Yeah. Hello.
I mean, that would have been a lot more, you know. But they chose the temple. But I think they chose the temple for a very good reason, is because the temple
Yep.
was that important,
Yep.
you know, to them. I mean, it was the basis. It was the foundation of.
Oh, yeah.
of
And to else, the
everything
common
they did.
folk.
To the
The
common
temple
folk.
was the most important thing
Exactly.
to the common folk, baby.
Right.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, they didn't. A lot of the common folk were at odds with the priests because we know what the priests were doing. But that temple, and I understand why. You know, I mean, let's face
Well,
it, God did live in that temple back then.
Right, absolutely, and that's where they got forgiveness
Yeah.
for their
Oh, yeah.
sin, was
That's
that
right.
once a year through the high priest. So I think, you know, I'm sure they had the other things, but he intentionally, it seems like he probably
Yeah, he's going to be a terrorist. He's going to demolish our temple.
He's gonna tear the
That's, I
temple.
never looked at it, but
Right.
that's exactly what it was.
Okay, so what do you make of this high priest guy asking
Caiaphas.
Jesus about
Mm.
have you no answer to make? to this? I mean,
Well, that's a fulfillment of prophecy.
That is, that's
it is.
exactly what
Yeah,
it is.
It is, yeah, it is.
Instead of slaughter, did not say a word. And you know why?
Right.
They should have known. That's what he kept saying. You have the scriptures, you should know. You know, the Romans were never held accountable in a sense because they were just ignorant pagans. They didn't know. Like you said, Mickey, you should know, and you do know, and you still reject it.
Yeah, I think that's in Isaiah 53 or 57,
I
something like
think
that.
it is
It's somewhere
in
there.
the 50s.
Yeah, it talks about
Can't
that.
say 53, but it's in the 50s.
Yeah, yeah. But why to the high priest does he care about getting Jesus' response? I mean, you can convict him without him saying anything, right? I mean, so
But they were having issues there. That was the problem. They were having issues with their
With their
witnesses.
testimony, yeah.
So they needed Christ to come up and say, "Oh yeah, I am who you say I am."
yeah,
They needed that testimony. And then again, like they took it totally out of context and flipped them. And they look, let's face it, our Lord could have said something, but he didn't. He did.
Well, I think they were pushing him to say something because they, in their mind, they had backed him in a corner that there was no answer that could come out.
Exactly.
He damns himself if he answers this way, and he damns himself if he answers that for a slightly different
You know,
way.
it's like Nikki said, don't you think they knew he preached for 3 years? I think you're right. So they were trying to back him in that corner. Please say in front of all these people you're the Son of God.
Right.
I think you're right.
So-
They were being the good prosecutor, let's say.
Exactly.
So what is the great offense of tell us if you are the Christ? And why does that help them? And let me tease it with it. Under what rule of law are these people actually under?
God's law.
These people are under the rule of Rome.
Okay.
So what is the one thing that can get the death sentence actually carried out?
Is to claim to be over Caesar or whoever was
That's
in
right.
charge at the time.
That's right.
Yeah, that's they were trying to use that, and then got backfired in their face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's that. It tell us if you are the Christ. That's the Messiah. Is the ruler, the one that is legend to overthrow man's government.
Now here's my question. You hit the nail on the head. This is what I've always discussed, and I just piques my curiosity. They could have stoned him. They had their own. Rome would not have stepped in. Rome let them do their thing. You're right. Now why? Because of prophecy. Rome was brought in, and even Rome didn't want to do it. But I'm with you, Howard. There's so many things that could have went the other way, and it didn't.
Well, the high priests are trying to trick it to throw Rome to do their dirty work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of why the people?
That people get mad at. Exactly
There was the
right.
people.
And it's Rome. Yeah, you know, isn't it something?
Rome's fault. We had nothing to do with it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we also need to remember that this was all went the way it did because of prophecy.
Prophecy,
That's right.
exactly.
He had to be crucified.
That's
He
right,
couldn't be
exactly.
stoned.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
He
That's
had
that-
to be
That's what I'm
crucified.
saying. It's
That's at verse 56.
Yeah.
All is taking place, the scriptures might be fulfilled.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm.
There you go.
But this
Uh,
book is a bunch of lies.
Okay. So his response, Jesus' response, I've lost it here. I'm going to get
64.
Yeah,
64,
64. Yeah, there you go. You have said so.
Yeah. There you go. I didn't. You said it.
You said it. That's right. Finally, you admit it. No, I'm just kidding. It says, but I tell you from now on. So he's adding to that. It's more than just the Son of God, more than just the Christ. I tell you from now on, you will see Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven. I mean, he's gone full double barrel with this, which does bring to mind, if they said he was going to be silent, why is he talking?
I think he's talking, but all he's doing is, and again, through his answers, he's convicting them.
Right. This is not his defense.
No, it's not.
It is, and that's what I think that silence is when you're talking, you're usually in defense of what you're trying to.
That's right.
You know, you accuse me of this. No, I was over here. You know, you're trying to defend yourself. There's no defense here.
Yeah.
No, you just say absolutely yes, I am. Hello.
Yeah, this is what you said.
Not going back
Okay, keep
to
going.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, the interesting thing, too, is that he used the term Son of Man,
Son of Man.
which is his pet name for
That's
himself.
right. Yeah.
That's what he called himself.
That's right.
He used that Son of Man
Yeah.
term.
Self-designation all the time. That's
Right,
So,
so,
well, go ahead.
no, so when he said that, I mean, he was basically saying, it's me.
Yeah.
The Son of Man is the earthly God, so to
Right,
speak. It's,
yeah.
that's what kind of makes me go.
But apparently, and I was, when we were studying, I think it was Ezekiel, he uses the
Yes,
term
absolutely, he
Yeah.
does.
Son of Man for himself,
Yes,
like 120 times or something,
Yes.
not just once, like a bunch.
right,
And that's the first time I realized that this was, so I don't know if it was a common phrase per se, but
I don't think it was common, I think Jesus picked that, he just used to refer to himself as a son.
Right,
as
right.
Son of
And
Man, I don't think it was a
Little
common
M.
thing. Hmm?
Sequel is little m and little s, where this one is big S and
Well,
big.
yeah.
I'm just saying,
You're right.
that's how we have to,
You're right.
because you're right, if people take Ezekiel, take you see, no, read Ezekiel in context.
Right.
Now go to here, his is capitals for a reason, it means that was, again, it's because of God.
Yeah.
I'm in relation with God, is what where Ezekiel was, doing the work of God, I guess you would say, so that's why you call him the Son of Man with little s and little m.
Yeah.
That's how they explain it again, it's more than my I just accept that as faith.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
electricity, I can mess with electricity, but I don't understand how it's made. That's another term I really kind of grapple with.
Okay, so in 65, the priest does something that he's not supposed to do.
Nah.
So, at least from what I've read, the high priest was not supposed to tear his clothes,
Not while in session.
not while in session, right?
He's supposed to be
Because-
what? Impartial.
Right, and that's supposed to be symbolic. Well, everything they wear is a symbolic
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Amen.
But why would he do this? Personally, I'm
The
going to give
show
my
must go
to
on.
show.
The show must go
Yeah,
on.
it's that. It's all about the show.
But he wasn't supposed to do that? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, apparently
no,
not.
no.
Apparently, they're
That
not.
was a common way of grieving.
Yeah, well, this. While we see many other scriptures, i.e., I'm thinking Old Testament, David, and others, when they mourn, they would rent their clothes,
Yeah.
off like that.
The thing that comes to my mind when I see things like this is, in the Middle East, when you disagree with somebody or something intently, what do? You throw your shoe at them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you see that all the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you see here.
On the
is
West Bank, too, they do that, yeah.
well,
I've done it
so
a few
that's what you
actually.
see here is just this dramatic,
Right.
way of,
Very externalized,
Yes.
a way of expressing.
Yeah.
But you're right, not supposed to do it when he's in this office per se.
In
He
that-
said
in that
it's not the
position,
time or
right.
place to do it. That's why it was such a big deal. But the
You
show
see-
must go on.
It says he tore his clothes. It didn't necessarily say he tore his robes. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Well, mine says towards roads.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mine-
Mine says
mine-
clothes.
mine does.
But I guess my point is, if he's working out of his house, I wonder if he has the full, not armament, what's the word?
Well,
I know what you're saying,
Vestments
yeah.
on.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. But mine says outer garments. It says robe, and then the little comment says outer garments. So it was it was what he was wearing,
Yeah.
But
But I wonder if it was
Oh,
the official,
Just
in
says
the
tore his
aftermath,
clothes.
official robe
Yeah.
of a judge,
Tore his clothes.
as opposed to he just had his T-shirt on.
Yeah.
He came in the back door and they were
Yeah.
working the, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Went full
I
on
think he
Colton.
knew exactly what was going on. I mean, to me, the high priest, he was in on all of this, right? So he knew they were going to go get him.
He's
He
there with
knew
all
they were
straight.
bringing him back, so
Oh,
he
yeah.
was
Oh,
probably dressed in his most high priestly.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
made sure he has his quorum there. So everything's been, I think this
I'll
was kind
show
of
you.
planned.
Yeah, yeah,
everything was
kind of planned.
Yep. And so he immediately, this is, what is your judgment? I mean, enough said. That's all we need. We've got what we think is enough. And funny how they didn't say, and they discussed it among themselves.
Right.
They voted. They, debated for a while or anything like
Hey,
that.
what do you think?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think?
And then they go into spitting in his face and struck him. Sounds very familiar. Prophecy here. And then at the closing, so I find it kind of humorous. They're saying prophesy to us, but this was foretold. This is already prophesied
Yeah.
to it. But they're doing it in a demeaning way to tell us who struck who. Yeah.
Isn't it sad though that here they are doing what they're doing when it was prophesied that they were gonna do it.
Yeah.
In other words,
Yeah.
you're not in control of anything.
Nothing here.
You know, your very actions were,
Like
that you were
Judas.
gonna do were seen by God
And,
at the foundation of the world.
That's right. That's
and what's
right.
even sadder, if you look at this, it's, by them, what they did, look what was the ramifications for Israel.
Yeah,
If Israel would have just welcomed their Messiah, the kingdom would have started. You know, I look at this and, you know, you look at that and your heart goes out to, I look at the common folk, the ones who didn't know. Your same thing what's going, your leaders is who you're respecting, you hope they would do the bidding. They just gonna kill the Messiah and look at all the pain and destruction that was brought on to Israel. I know it's prophesied, but still, you you just can't say they're robots. They're not robots. It's God prophesied because he knew what was gonna happen.
right.
You see, so to me, you look at that. Even today, when I walk around at certain places, and everybody, the unbelievers. I mean, they're dead. I look at sin, but I said they're dead, and that's sad when you think about
Yeah,
it.
walking in ignorance. Just-
Yeah. And they just, and I look at this, I said, look what would happen because of their unbelief. If they just, they killed the Messiah. Think about it. I mean, that's the Son of God, the Creator.
Yeah.
That just blows me away how deep that is.
Yeah.
You just ponder on that, and then I remember before I became a believer, I was dead.
Yeah.
It's just, and what you reject when you reject it, you just continue in death.
Okay, we're gonna stop here. As the story gets better.
It does. Peter gets in there again.
We'll stop here. What are you guys praying for?